And the more we test, the more we can't even trust the measures themselves, because there are so many incentives to game the system, to avoid the kids who might get low scores, to teach test-taking tricks, even to cheat. Officials in Washington, D.C. and Atlanta boasted of their test score gains, but their claims have been shadowed by allegations of widespread cheating. Officials in New York City boasted of their dramatic test score gains, but their boast turned hollow a year ago when an independent investigation revealed that the state education department made the test easier year after year in order to inflate the scores. And they had to roll those scores back, and the test score gains all disappeared. I don't mean to suggest that testing itself is bad. The problem is that tests today are way, way overemphasized. And the problem is they're not only overemphasized, they're misused. They should be used for diagnostics. They should be used to help teachers and to help students. They should be used for information, not to hand out bonuses or to fire teachers and close schools. When the stakes attached to test scores get too high, people lose sight of what matters most in education, and they focus on the wrong goals. Furthermore, as more time is devoted to test preparation, the tests lose their value as a measure. The tests are not scientific instruments. They're created by humans. They're subject to measurement error, random error, poor wording, poor scoring. I mentioned to you that I spent 7 years on the National Testing Board, and I saw many questions that had to be struck that we were able to catch because there were 2 right answers, or because the question was just not a good question. It was very misleading. Things like that slip through all the time. I have to tell you one anecdote. I was at one public event when I was on the National Assessment Governing Board, and they were showing the results of the latest civics test, and they held up a sample question, and the question was, went something like this: the United States considers itself a democratic society, yet we have some institutions that are not democratic. Which of the 4 following choices is not a democratic institution? And they showed to 200 reporters this question, and the right answer was supposed to be, the Supreme Court is not democratic. And I stood up and I said, excuse me, when I was growing up in Texas in the 1950s, that was a billboard signed by the John Birch Society. Well, if we continue to have so many years of multiple choice standardized testing, we will squeeze out every last drop of creativity, originality, innovation, critical thinking, the very attributes needed for the 21st century. Though the really creative thinkers might see a different answer from the one that the test makers want to hear. And innovation is not promoted by choosing one of 4 possible options. What we should be asking our kids is not what's the right answer, but what's the right question.